I instinctively cringed against Emmett as the sunlight hit me, momentarily blinding my eyes. "What's wrong?" Beta Harrison inquired, hovering closely nearby. "She doesn't come out during the daytime often." Emmett replied, "Her eyes are hurting, but they'll adjust soon." "Oh," Beta Harrison said, and I felt a rustle of movement before something heavy and redolent with his scent was draped over my head. I looked up to find myself covered by his jacket. "Keep that on until your eyes adjust," he instructed. "We're shifting to run back. You can ride my Lycan, Rocky." I felt a flicker of concern. Rocky had keener senses than Beta Harrison and might detect my scent, so I quickly took steps to mask it. After Emmett had shifted and helped me onto Rocky's back, he followed suit before we all took off running back. We journeyed all day, only breaking for lunch before continuing on. Gradually, my eyes adapted to the light, as they usually did after a drawn-out exposure. Upon our return to the royal pack, the familiar scent of the woods enveloped me. I couldn't believe the flood of happy memories that washed over me, jubilant times spent playing with the triplets, moments I thought I had buried long ago. As I scanned the city, I noticed it had transformed significantly in my absence. New buildings had sprung up, and the old mill had vanished, replaced by a serene garden. We proceeded to a grand stone building by the edge of the woods, and when Beta Rocky came to a halt, I quickly dismounted. "Thank you," I smiled at him as Emmett shifted back and donned his clothes. I hurried over to him, keeping my gaze lowered as Beta Harrison shifted back and pulled on his pants. "Right," he said once he was back in his human form. "This way." We followed him inside, entering into a lively atmosphere. There were children running around the adults, talking loudly. I shrank against Emmett, and it had been so long since I'd been around so much noise and life. "Beta," a woman called out as she came over to us. She was strikingly beautiful, with her short blonde hair elegantly pinned around her oval face, complemented by a delicate touch of makeup and a lovely light blue dress. Her warm demeanor and the spark in her eyes was something I hadn't seen in a very long time. It was inviting and comforting. "I've prepared the rooms as you instructed," she announced with a friendly smile. "Good, thank you." Beta Harrison smiled at her. "I want them kept here. They will need to speak with the king about their ordeal. I don't want the others bothering them." "Of course not," she nodded. "I'm Martha." She addressed us. "I'm Emmett," he introduced himself, indicating to me next. "This is Zon." "Welcome," she said warmly. "I'll leave you with Martha now," Beta said, glancing between us. "I'll return tomorrow after I've spoken with the king and queen. They're quite preoccupied with the preparations for the goddess festival, and it's only 9 days away now." "We understand," I replied with an indifferent shrug. "I'm sure Queen Elia is extremely busy, probably running about like a whirlwind, fueled by coffee, ensuring everything is perfect." Emmett nudged me, prompting a frown as I looked down, realizing my blunder. "Do you know the Queen?" Beta Harrison questioned, a hint of suspicion in his tone. "No," I lied, managing a casual demeanor. "But all Lunas are alike, always striving for perfection." "Right," he responded, his frown deepening. "Well, I'm off now. You two be on your best behavior." "Yes, sir," we replied in unison. As he moved towards the door, he suddenly paused and turned back to me. "You mentioned your name is Zon?" "Yes," I confirmed. "What is that short for?" I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me, as I hadn't considered that question. "Zania," Emmett quickly chimed in on my behalf. "Really?" He frowned, scrutinizing me. "Let me see your wrist." "Why?" "Just show me," he said firmly. Cold dread gripped me as I rolled up the sleeve of my dress, knowing he might be searching for my birthmark. I had long since removed it by cutting my wrists a few years ago. I wanted to die to escape my fate, so it wasn't there anymore. "Good heavens, child," Martha said, gently grabbing my wrist, but I instinctively recoiled. "What happened to you? Does it really matter?" I mumbled while Emmett helped me lower my sleeves again. Did you get a good look? He snapped at Beta Harrison. I'm sorry, Beta Harrison spoke up quickly, sensing the tension. I thought you were someone else. Please forgive me. He then walked away, leaving me alone with Martha, who regarded me with sympathy. Zon, I'll show you to your room, Martha said sweetly, a warm smile on her face. Liam, take Emmett to the boys' wing. We're not sharing? Emmett asked, grabbing my arm. What? Of course not, Martha replied. The boys sleep in a separate wing. Then we'll find somewhere else to stay, I asserted firmly, but Martha raised her hand to silence me. You're underage, and Beta Harrison insists you both stay here, she informed us. You're not going anywhere, so come along. You two will have to manage sleeping apart. Martha gestured for me to follow her, and I exchanged a look with Emmett before trailing after the adults. I noticed a few girls peering out of their rooms as I walked by. Who's the new girl? A young girl called out. Never you mind, Carly. Martha snapped at her. Run along and see to your chores before lights out. The girl huffed in annoyance and stormed away. Here we are, Martha said, opening the door to a small room containing 2 beds. Will I be sharing with someone? Yes, you'll be sharing with Abby, but she's a lovely child. Martha reassured me as she moved to the closet to retrieve a thick blanket and a pillow. There's a clean dress and towel laid out on the blankets, and if you feel cold, there's another blanket in the closet. I'll be fine, thank you, I replied. Beta Harrison mentioned that you and Emmett were in quite a difficult situation, Martha said, her tone shifting slightly. He didn't share any details, and I don't mean to pry, but if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. That's very kind of you, but I won't need anything, I reassured her. If you change your mind, my room is on the top floor, she replied. You two missed dinner, but if you're hungry Beta Harrison fed us, thank you. I interrupted. The bathroom is down the hall, the last door on the right. Make sure to wash up and get some rest, dear. Lights go out in an hour, she instructed. Yes, ma'am, I responded. I hate to ask, but about the red mark around your throat, she said, glancing at me. Does it hurt? I could get you some cream for it. I don't need anything, I stated firmly, prompting her to finally take the hint. Well, I will let you settle in. She smiled and went to touch my arm, but I stepped away from her hand. Her face fell slightly, but left quickly. Once I was alone, I picked up the dress and towel and headed to wash up. When I returned, I found a girl around my age sitting on one of the beds with a book in hand. Hello, she said, smiling brightly. I'm Abby. Hello, I'm Zon, I replied. Nice to meet you. She beamed, closing her book. I said about making my bed. It had been so long since I had used a proper bed, and the thought seemed oddly strange. Where are you from? She asked, her curiosity piqued. I hesitated for a moment. Overseas. Where overseas? She pressed for more details. I turned to her and said, I'm really tired. I'm going to sleep now, before climbing into bed. Of course. We'll talk tomorrow. Good night, she replied. Once the lights were out and Abby had fallen asleep, I quietly slipped out of my bed, concealed my scent, and crept over to the boys' side of the building, navigating the dark corridors while following Emmett's familiar scent. Took you long enough. He grinned as I pushed the door open. I shut the door behind me and carefully tiptoed past another bed. Who are you? A boy sat up and asked, looking confused. Why are you in here? You didn't see her, understood? Emmett said sharply, causing the boy to flinch at his fierce tone. Whatever, just keep your clothes on, he retorted. I really don't know why they didn't put you together if you're mates. We're just friends, I replied as I slid into Emmett's bed. Yeah, right, the boy scoffed, rolling over. I always sneak into my friends' beds too. We ignored his comments as I snuggled close to my best friend, and we quickly drifted off to sleep. I never experienced nightmares when I was beside Emmett. Just as I felt I had barely fallen asleep, loud banging erupted from a distant door. "Get up!" a man shouted. "Shit!" I gasped, instinctively ducking under the covers as more banging reverberated at our door. "Get up!" the man yelled, barging into the room. "New boy, make your bed and come down for breakfast with the others." "Sure," I responded. "Yes, sir," he barked back. "You don't have to call me sir," Emmett remarked, which earned a growl from the man as I stifled a laugh. "Just get up," he bellowed before storming off to the next room. "You two have a death wish," the boy from last night said as he climbed out of bed. "Beta Mike is an old bastard, don't cross him." "We'll keep that in mind." Emmett rolled his eyes. Breakfast presented a challenge as hordes of children and adults streamed into a spacious hall, piling their trays high before settling down at various tables. Emmett and I were not accustomed to the routine of daily meals or the abundance of food, so we chose only a modest selection each and retreated to a table nestled at the back of the room, far from the bustling crowd, where we maintained our quietude over the meal. I caught a glimpse of Martha observing us, but we chose to disregard her gaze. Once we finished what we could, we made our way outside. Today, my eyes felt clear, and it was refreshing to bask in the warmth of the sun once more. An hour after breakfast, Emmett and I sat in the courtyard, watching the other orphans running around laughing and playing. "I'm going to go crazy if I am stuck here for long," Emmett complained and leaned his back against mine. We often sat like this. It began as a way to protect each other's backs, but now it was just a habit. "It's only temporary," I reminded him. "Just until I get revenge." "How are you going to find out who hired those rogues who abducted you?" he asked. "After I was taken by the rogues at 10 years old, Ryan, one of the rogues, told me they'd been hired to take me to my uncle by someone in the pack, though after finding out just how powerful I was, they chose to keep me for themselves, only selling me when they had no other choice. And finally I made it back to my uncle, and now that I was back here, I was going to find out who and kill them. Because of that bastard, I spent years in hell." "No idea, but someone has to know something," I answered. "There has to be rumors. What about those triplets? What about them? Weren't you close?" he asked. "Can't you just tell them who you are and ask for their help?" "I can't risk it," I answered as I pulled out my tiny boat from my pocket and looked at it in my palm. A gift from Kit, the second-born triplet. He'd given it to me that day I'd been abducted. Besides, I haven't seen them in 7 years. They probably don't even remember me. "Yes, they will," Zora piped up. "Well, it's up to you," Emmett shrugged. "We'll figure it out. Besides, we're safe here from Emery for now, though I'm sure he'll come eventually, so I don't mind hanging out here for as long as we can. And then we can go kill your father, and go to the beach." "Yep," he said happily. "Sweet revenge. And then our cabin at the ocean. No pain, no killing, just sandcastles, and when I teach you to swim, we'll go swimming every day." "No, Emery." I leaned my head back against his shoulder. "I can't wait. I never thought this day would come. Do you think the king will track him down? Who knows? He's had 7 years and hasn't managed to." "Yeah, but that's because we kept him safe," Emmett pointed out. "That prick's on his own now." "Oi, you two," Martha's voice called out, and we both looked back toward the orphanage. "Come here, Beta Harrison wants you." "Great." I exhaled and stood up.